On October 14, 2009, a woman walked into a roadside motel in rural Montana. No luggage, no vehicle, barefoot across the frozen asphalt. 3 hours later, police broke down the door to room 307 to find it completely empty. There were fresh fingerprints on the bathroom mirror and security footage that showed the woman entering the building twice. The Black Pine Inn sat in a stretch of frozen backcountry, bordered by miles of dead forest and deep snow. The terrain was so hostile that surviving more than an hour on foot without gear was a physical impossibility. Daniel Reeves, the night clerk, was the only staff member on duty. He was working the desk alone when the woman emerged from the darkness of the highway. This isolation is what makes her disappearance so difficult to reconcile. With miles of snow-covered land and no vehicle, there was simply nowhere for her to go. At 11:43 p.m., the lobby camera captured her arrival.
She was in her late 20s, with pale skin and a dark coat, staring past Daniel toward the hallway. She asked if the third floor was still open. Daniel found the question unsettling, primarily because the entire third floor had been shuttered for renovations months earlier. When he told her the rooms were unavailable, she claimed she had stayed there before. Daniel checked the system, but found no record, no ID of any kind, and no previous reservation. Something about her presence made Daniel nervous enough that he avoided an argument. He handed her the key to room 307, the only room on the floor that remained accessible. By giving her that key, Daniel granted entry to a space that was supposed to be vacant, serving as the catalyst for the sequence of events that began less than 2 hours later. At 1:12 a.m., the silence in the lobby broke. Daniel heard heavy furniture being dragged across the floorboards directly above him, creating a violent scraping sound that echoed through the ceiling. The noise then shifted into a rhythmic pattern. 3 slow, heavy knocks. A pause, then 3 knocks again. Daniel went upstairs and found the hallway lights near room 307 flickering. They were pulsing in a steady rhythm, seemingly reacting to the heavy movement coming from behind the door. Then he heard a woman crying. It wasn't soft sobbing, it was the sound of someone begging for help. When he approached the door, the sound stopped instantly. A voice then whispered from inside, "Don't let her see me." To Daniel, it didn't sound like the woman who checked in. This voice was younger, almost childlike. The shift in tone and the presence of a second voice indicated that the room was no longer occupied by a single guest. The reality inside the room had shifted. At 1:27 a.m., the power failed across the motel. The only light remaining was a dim yellow glow leaking from the gap beneath the door to 307. Daniel heard a final argument inside. "You opened the door again."
Police arrived minutes later and forced their way into the room. They found the room empty. There was no luggage and no sign of an escape. The bathroom window was locked from the inside, and the air in the room felt unnaturally warm. On the bathroom mirror, they found fresh fingerprints covering the glass. They were pressed flat against the surface, as if someone had been pushing against the mirror from within. The investigation then turned to the lobby security tape. At 11:43 p.m., footage shows the woman heading toward the stairs. 4 minutes later, an identical woman appears, following the exact same path, while the first was already upstairs. Police verified the footage. No cuts. 2 women entered, 1 room occupied, and no one left. The footage documents an inescapable paradox. Room 307 had somehow contained 2 versions of the same person, yet both vanished from a sealed environment. Months later, construction crews began gutting the 3rd floor. Behind the drywall of room 307, they found a sealed void, a hidden room that had been walled off for decades. Inside were artifacts from the 1970s, including burned photographs and messages carved into the walls. One sentence appeared repeatedly: "She comes back if the door opens." The most significant discovery was found in the original architectural plans. In the 1970s blueprints, room 307 does not exist. The hallway was designed to end at a solid wall. The woman had walked into a space that was architecturally non-existent. Room 307 was a threshold that occupied a physical void in the building's original design. The Black Pine Inn closed for good in 2011. Today, the building is a ruin, slowly being overtaken by the trees and the snow. Urban explorers visiting the site claim they still see a light glowing on the third floor, and some report hearing 3 slow knocks echoing through the abandoned concrete. Local stories suggest that if you look into the broken mirrors in the lobby, you might see the woman standing behind you, silent and barefoot. The mystery of room 307 remains unresolved. The room and its occupants are gone, but the threshold they stepped through may